Hello and welcome to the Surgical Spirit podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Al-hakim, the Third Eye Doctor. Pull up a chair and get ready for some candid and uncompromising discussion with experts, innovators, agitators, and influential people from every corner of health and well-being. From inside the hospital to at home in the kitchen, we're leaving no stone unturned in our quest to uncover the secrets of healthier, happier, more successful, and less stressful lives. Thank you so much for joining us, and without further ado, let's meet this episode's guest. Hello, Dr. Zac. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good, very good. I came across your picture and I thought to myself, this guy is hench. He's a big lad.
I appreciate that. I do. It's all the hard work in the gym. I pray that's the case.
So what's the gym story then? Tell us about the gym story.
Oh dear. Okay, that's a good question. I've been training on and off for the last couple of years, probably last decade actually, but started training properly in the last few years. I don't know why I do it. I think it's just a matter of habit. I just need to be in the gym doing something physical. I mean, I have a theory as to why I do it. I don't know if it's actually the case as to why I am in the gym every day, but I feel like God has given us our mental and physical faculties, and I think it's the responsibility of the person to try and push themselves as much as they can and to try and achieve the potentials and their peaks of their intellect or spirit or even the physical, i.e. the gym. And so there comes to a point in a man where, unfortunately, unless if he's not taking things, his testosterone is naturally going to go down over time. And so I felt like I was racing against time. I felt like I really want to know what my body can achieve, the body that God's given me, and what that limit looks like, because I feel like I have an obligation towards that. And so I'm working towards that before my time or my testosterone starts to drop. And henceforth, that's the story behind the gym, I suppose. It's just a matter of curiosity. I wonder what the potential looks like.
So who's your? I mean, are you more of a physique kind of person, bodybuilding kind of person, mass? What kind of
strength? Primarily strength. I don't really care for aesthetic. I quite like pushing, because it's very objective. When you talk about physique and the aesthetic, it's very subjective. Your body, just like the tricep on the left might be a little bit bigger than the one on the right. It's just such an subjective thing. But with strength, it's entirely objective. You know, your bench press, you can see numerically improving over time. And so you can't deny the gains or the improvements you're making there.
So it's like a numbers thing, really.
Yeah. It's like a video game, right? Like in a video game, you get your skills up. You can actually see that objectively for the first time in your life in the gym when you're doing powerlifting.
And what got you interested in that? You know, the whole power stuff.
I think it's my what I'm naturally good at. So I don't like cardio. I don't like looking aesthetic. I just like the strength, because I am good at that. I've always been relatively strong from a young age, and so when it came to it, I just made quick progress, and so that's what got me to powerlifting in particular over the other, let's say, subspecialties.
And have you got involved in any competitions?
No, not yet. I do want to. It's finding the time to dedicate myself with a proper strict program and diet, which I think will take me a year plus. I mean, my numbers are good for someone who is untrained in the professional sense. It's about just tidying up what I'm doing and aiming for a competition date maybe in the next few years, but we'll have to see. But definitely before 35, I'm going to compete regardless. At some point, yeah.
How far are we away from 35?
I'm 31. I turned 31 actually last weekend on the 14th.
So you got 4 years then, 4 years to kind of get this down on paper.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm actually, I'm gonna have to rush towards it. No, I'm gonna have to push myself a little bit more now with the stricter deadline around the corner. I think it's encroaching, so I don't really have a choice anymore. I need to kind of pursue it and just crack on with it.
I mean, is there kind of an ideal age for being a good sort of power lifter?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because the younger you are, the better it is for you when it comes to recovery. So you always see these youngsters come to the gym and they have no other priority, speaking frankly, right? So it's either
Oh,
you
that's
finish school,
nasty
you
of
do
you. Oh, that's nasty.
it's true, right? You finish school and you do a little bit of homework and you've got all the evening left to just go to the gym, and just that's all you
Smash
have to
the
worry
gym.
about. Smash the gym in summary, or even uni. It's even worse at uni. Like, you don't even need to go to your lectures. I mean, don't quote me for that, but some people don't go to their lectures and they might spend it at the gym. And so there's like no other responsibilities, and your body is easy to recover. So you might say, being younger is probably the best time to start competing. But actually, I think it's when you get older, for two reasons. Physiologically, I think the most important thing when it comes to working out is developing the foundation. And the foundation is, or are your joints. And your joints take years to develop, absolutely years. And so when you look at someone who, for example, has taken illegal substances to get stronger, what you'll notice with them is that they get a lot of injuries, mainly torn ligaments and problems with their joints. And the reason why is because the illegal substances have strengthened them through empowering their muscles. They're not their joints, and so they end up with a lot of injuries, because it's like if you're lifting 180 kg, sure, your muscles can do that, but your joints haven't actually developed the strength or the foundations to maintain, sustain that weight. What was the other thing? Sorry, I'm trying to think about what I was talking about here.
Yeah, about the joints and how
Yeah.
time sort of helps
Oh,
you, and how the
yes.
younger ones,
Yes.
recover much more quickly.
Yes. So joint development, incredibly important. That's why I think the older age is better, but it's also knowing how to use your time effectively. Using time effectively is probably the most important skill set to develop. And as you get older, the youngest who are going to the gym all the time start fizzling out because they don't know how to manage their time and stop going to the gym. And it's actually the older lot who have figured out how to go to the gym amongst their very busy lives who will persist and achieve bigger numbers. So I'm getting a call. I was just getting a call. Are now achieving bigger numbers because they can do it over time and have figured out how to prioritize their time effectively.
So like the kind of effective sustainability, and also being, having the best buck bang for buck kind of training is better with time.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
And do you have like an idol, or someone that you worshipped in the powerlifting world that you really followed, or is it just your own version about everything?
My own version about everything. I think thinking about other people and that kind of, I know it's good to have role models and to be inspired by other people, but I think it can be distracting. I think that's just me and myself in that gym who's cracking on to try and unravel what the fullest sense of Zac is, the fullest potential of Zac physically, the fullest sense of Zac spiritually, the fullest sense of Zac intellectually. It has nothing to do with anyone else. Like, I don't derive inspiration from anyone else when it comes to those things. It's once again a matter of curiosity. It's like we have the body and the mind. It's just, what do we do with it, and how far can we take it? It has nothing to do with anyone else or deriving inspiration from someone else.
And sort of what level are we talking about here? Are we talking about national, European, international? I mean, you got to put yourself somewhere.
Oh no, so I think my bench press is quite good. So if I was to compete, I would be regional somewhere. Um, I think I can, if I train properly, effectively, and do all the right things moving forward, I can probably reach a national level. But I don't know. I think it's just a matter of trying and seeing where it takes me. I think that's probably the most exciting part in the journey, is I don't really care for the outcome and where I'm positioned. It's the process that's very exciting. And actually, if I know I'm going to achieve a certain outcome, it becomes far more boring to me, and I actually would never try and achieve it. The known is very boring. The unknown is very exciting. So I focus on the process, I suppose. So I think I'll do well, but we'll see. I mean, it's not. I think I know I'll do well.
How much? I mean, do you concentrate mainly on bench press and sort of squats, or do you do like powerlifting events training and things like that?
So I primarily focus on the bench press. So I will start incorporating squat and deadlift over time, only because I have a lower right back injury from deadlifting at some point. But I will, right now my bench press is 180. So my body weight is roughly around 93 kg. This is like not even any proper strict program in place, poor diet as well. And so I think if I cover my training program, but also my form as well and my diet, I can get that bench press to a higher number. And I'm actually lower body dominated. I'm not upper body dominated. So I have a lot of more work to get through with my lower body, my squat deadlift. But I know I can achieve bigger numbers there just from the fact that historically I've always been lower body dominated.
And you know, apart from powerlifting, are there any other sports that you're really passionate about?
Really? No. I sometimes watch the Champions League. I feel I mean, besides, I don't do any other sport personally. I like to swim from time to time when I'm on holiday, but I try and follow the Premier League table. I don't really have the attention span to actually sit there for a full game, and I might watch the last 10 minutes of the game. For example, Arsenal. Who were they playing against the other day? I'm trying to remember. Arsenal and Munich.
Yeah. I think they lost in the Champions League.
Oh, it was horrific. The corners. That referee was I don't know. I was but besides that, I don't really follow sports.
Fair enough. And by the sounds of it, you didn't attend uni either, by the sounds of it.
I didn't or did?
You didn't.
Why? What did I say earlier?
No, I mean you did really well in university. I mean you did really well in university, but it wasn't your what's the word? It wasn't your flavor.
No, I think people need to start deconstructing how education looks like. I don't know what that actually means. I'll be honest with you. I just know there's something a little bit off in the way that education is being provided, and it's rather stringent form. I just think that's not actually how education is. Education is first and foremost, like I'm saying, the word curiosity is all about curiosity and instilling and invoking this sense of curiosity in people. I don't think the current educational system does that. And I think that's a massive problem. But to answer your question about university for me, I like learning. I like the process of memorization, but I didn't like following the rules and the guidelines set before me. So like, I didn't like the idea of having to turn up to a lecture at a certain time. That wasn't useful for me. I was quite fortunate because King's is very flexible and quite understanding. Whereas another university, you would have to almost sign in to that lecture at 9 a.m. And I'll be honest with you, I'll be sitting there and with my limited attention span, within 5 minutes they're out. So I've wasted already half of my day. Whereas what I would have done before is at home, I would study from home and I would just get that time in and spend the rest of the evening doing things I actually enjoyed, which was studying about theology, thinking about other things. Yeah, I wasn't quite keen in the structure of university. I still think universities can play an important role, but they should reposition themselves as not a place to just learn, but a place to grow with curiosity and open the mind, I would say.
And you know, what would the ideal situation look like for you?
I honestly need to think about this far more. I know deep down, hey, that like there's something. I know there's something off with the system. I just don't know why it's off, and how it can be improved. I just know there's something off. I mean, not even talking about university. Actually, on Wednesday, 2 days ago, I gave a workshop at a college in Richmond. about business, and it was just to business students, I think A levels as well as BTEC. And it's slightly concerning because I felt as though there was such a lack of engagement. It's like I knew that there were students there sitting, and I would like to believe I'm a fairly engaging person, and the workshop is of quality. But the kids were there, but they weren't there. And I think obviously COVID and lockdown had played a massive part so in their development as an adult or early adult teenager. You remove their ability to socialize, which is probably actually the most important skill to develop. But I feel like the educational system is stripping away independence and the core of their curiosity. No one was curious. No one asked any questions when I did the workshop. And I was just, maybe it's just a sample size, just one college, but I was bewildered. How can you sit there, go through a whole entire workshop and not have any questions to ask? And so I tried to prod them. And no one just seemed to be engaged at all. And I don't know if that is because of the educational system, but I do think there are problems that exist all the way from primary school, secondary school, and till university as well. I just haven't sat there or sat down to think about exactly what those problems are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think this whole notion of being spoon-fed has just become too ubiquitous at all levels. And, you know, this whole notion that, you know, I'm the specialist or I'm the expert, you know, listen to the expert. And, you know, as you said, questioning, you know, being the basis of education, I think has been lost after many, many generations of being spoon-fed.
Spoon-fed and I think babied.
Babied, yeah.
I think children and students are, they've got bubble. What do you call that thing? Bubble wrap? No, it's not bubble wrap. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, sort of protected.
Yeah,
yeah, bubble wrapped. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what
bubble.
the you know, they like to make the noises, you know, when they press them, but that's about it really. Otherwise, nothing else they're willing to engage with.
Yeah. So you have kids yourself. Are you? How are you with? How do you think they're being taught? Do you think they're being taught they should, or?
Well, I mean, I'm a bit of a rebel, you see. I mean, I never believed in the education system, so I took my kids out of the education system.
Ah.
So they were being homeschooled. And then I had a blowback from the missus and the extended family, so I was forced to put them back into the system. And they've done really well because they came from a position of, oh, I don't know what's going on, or let's see how this works, let's see how that works, and just asking questions and just being, you know, a bit, I don't know, maybe rebellious or just being a bit awkward or just and you know, the education authorities were not happy because they're not, you know, they can't sit on their chair and be good schoolboys and schoolgirls, and they said they probably have ADHD and they probably have learning difficulties, blah, 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 autism, whatever. They need an assessment, blah. And I said, look, they're not getting any of that shit. You know, if you want to teach them, teach them. You know, if you're any good, give them extra support. So they did. But, you know, they've been brainwashed into the usual education system. And, you know, I mean, they've done well. They've got nines and so on. And I'm not really a fan of it because I'm a bit weird as well, and I never fitted into the, you know, normal education institution. I've always been a bit of a, you know, black sheep, and because sometimes it just doesn't work. And I say, look, this is rubbish. It's not how I work. I work differently. And then there's a clash, and so yeah, I'm not the ideal person to be talking about educational institutions. I think you'll find your way, and I think other people that use different methods for education differently. But I mean, I like the whole ethos around curiosity and just asking those pertinent and difficult questions. And I think if we're allowed to ask those questions, which create, you know, a new paradigm and a new way of thinking and then new answers, because obviously if when there's problems, the old answers are not working. So, you know, we do have to turn things upside down. I think.
I agree. I think it's also interesting you said that you're a black sheep, and I feel like similarly for me, I hear this from my mother all the time. Salar, sorry, that's actually, for anyone who doesn't know, my original name is Salar. And she goes to me, Salar, you're so rebellious, you're just never normal. And I do wonder where that comes from, because like if I see something wrong, I will have to act on it. It's similarly for you. It's like you saw that the educational system is not, um, you know, it's great in ethos and in principle, but isn't right. So what you're going to do is homeschool your kids initially, and obviously you've got the plaque from your missus and your extended family, but you will do something about a thing that you're not happy about, and that I think that is how people define someone as a black sheep, because it's so scary to see someone else actually action a concern, or if they want to do something and they do it, everyone else is surprised. Oh, he's a black sheep, he's rebellious. That's the way I see it. That's how I define it now. I can't define it anywhere, like anyhow else. Like it doesn't make any sense. That's the only way.
Yeah, I mean, we get possessed by something that's of great concern to us. We can't let it go. Others have let it go, but we can't. There's something inside of us that says, no, you're going to stay up all night or all day, and you're agitated. And I mean, obviously there's psychiatric diagnoses for that in extremes, but there's always something inside of us saying, well, actually, this is something you've got to change or do. Or and when I came back from Iraq, I was very much concerned about the education. That was the reason, because when I was back in Iraq, the kids were being indoctrinated the Iraqi way, and I thought, this isn't for me. Let me get them out the system. And I know how the Western education system works, which isn't great as well. So I'm kind of left in this dilemma. So really, my movements between the UK and Iraq was about education, and the lack of indoctrination. But you're indoctrinated wherever you go, and how do you unlearn, on a regular basis? I think that's the kind of secret to keep moving forward, is sort of unlearning what's become ingrained within you, just to keep moving forward. And it's difficult, because you like comfort, you like to settle into something because it's psychologically much more comfortable.
Yes.
But you've got to be restless and remove the shackles once again and become the new version.
That's very interesting. I agree. How do you unlearn? Well, how do you know what you should unlearn?
Yeah, I guess it doesn't serve you anymore, and it doesn't serve your loved ones and the wider community. So something that's has diminishing returns, and then what, actually there's something that's not working here, and I need to go back to basics and start from my fundamentals, which always get me out of the pickle, and allow me to move forward again. And I think that's why I'm a bit old-fashioned and sort of look towards the fundamentals, which brings us back to theology, really, and the major religions, and the main patterns of behavior that have worked for generations. And that's what kind of that's my grounding, and then I work sort of forward from that, really. Which is why I guess theology is fascinating for a lot of people, and probably a lot of doctors as well.
I think it's becoming. I think we've gone through a period in time until recently where talking about faith and spirituality and religion openly it's like an unspoken reality where it's frowned upon. I think people are opening up that conversation now. I think it's not to exclude other people. You need to be I think we need to be very mindful of not making the conversations exclusionary. So, for example, if you're running a business and you're a faith-centered person, you need to be very careful on how you manage your principles and your values. If you are faith-driven, to not exclude
Yeah,
I know,
I'll,
sorry.
yeah, no worries, no worries. Yeah, so
Um,
you were saying how it's important, when we have faith-driven activities that we don't fall into the trap of excluding ourselves and others from that discussion.
yes, absolutely. Even like I have been toiling with this idea as someone who is faith driven. I practice the Christian faith, um, and also a business owner. How do you integrate your principles and values? And like, I don't think for me those values and principles exist in a vacuum, and because they're my personalities and skills. No, because I think those values and morals and principles come from my faith. And so if they're so important to me that they kind of define me as a character, my faith, how do I contextualize that within my business? Because my business is also an extension of who I am as well. And so if your business is composed of people of other faiths or no faith at all or agnostics or whatever it may be, it's very important that I'm mindful of, yes, I care about these principles and values that I've developed from my religion and my faith, but also it doesn't exclude anyone else within that business. But I think we've kind of taken it too far where you're not allowed to kind of have a conversation around that at all. And I think that's problematic. I think it's finding a middle ground where if it's so important to me as a person, and the fact that I've also worked incredibly hard to develop this business, which I will go on to say, actually the business exists because of my morals and principles and the heart, like the work ethic. And when it's 10 p.m. or 1 a.m. and I'm working hard, it's my faith that's driving me to get to the next day. That's helped to develop the business. And I don't have the allowance to say this is derived from my faith. I think that is a problem, and it's almost so inauthentic because authenticity would say it's because of my faith that this business exists, but we're not allowing people to say that, and I think that's problematic.
No, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think, this whole regulatory body saying that faith should be out of the question doesn't make sense whatsoever. Because as you said, we are of different flavors and different colors and different heritages and different faiths. Because, the more we look back into human history, the more it delves into the divine and the ineffable and the non-materialistic. So the language becomes much more complicated and much more difficult to grasp onto. But yet, this is what civilization was built upon. And I
Mm,
think it's absurd. It's absurd to not be allowed to have these difficult and complicated discussions. Because at the end of the day, human beings have that non-materialistic existence. And if we can have
mm,
that dialogue and we can use these words um, in normal conversations with your patients, I think it just breaks those barriers. And I mean, I'm
mm.
glad to see that, now they have um, here in the UK, actually in the US, they have Islamic versions of CBT,
Oh,
which I think
interesting.
which I think is great. It means that they've
Mm,
broken those materialistic CBT mechanisms and has a bit of a theological color to it. Obviously, it's not going to land well with certain individuals and certain sects and everything, but for some people, it's a godsend. You know,
mm,
but for some people, they can fit into that category that serves their minds, their souls, and their bodies. And no one's ramming this down anyone's throat. And I think that's the key there. Is it's sort of not ramming stuff down. Look, some people like to have things rammed down their throats, and
mm.
yeah,
I agree. I think it's being mindful of how to once again, I think we've gone far to an extreme to suppress the conversations around faith and religion. But it's also being mindful when that is being introduced that people don't feel excluded. And how does that look like in the workplace? I mean, how does that even look like in the patient to doctor interactions? Because the patient and doctor interaction is probably the most vulnerable interaction that a patient is going to receive, because firstly, with someone that they may or may not know, as a patient talking to the doctor, they may not know, and they just discovered some news about themselves, and you're dehumanizing probably the most human interaction, and that's actually what put me away from medicine, because I didn't quite understand what medicine was by the time I got to final year, because I spent some time in placements, and you're being herded as a clinician from the one patient bed to another patient bed, one patient bed, another one, and the consultations, and then it's like, have I actually spoke to the patient on a human level? Like that's what medicine is. Forget about your medication, your diagnosis, and your investigations, and the MRI machines and your blood tests. Speak to the patient on a human level. Medicine is literally, on the level of prevention, is social connection, diet, exercise, sleep.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And I feel like as a doctor, I wasn't doing any of that. Well, I graduated, didn't do F1, F2. But when a medical student, I didn't do any of those stuff. Maybe I'm extrapolating my experiences. I don't know. You're a clinician for many years. How does it look like for you?
I mean, I'll be honest with you, it was a disaster. I think, I was devoid of any kind of human experience as a medical student, as a junior doctor, as a specialist. And it's only until I realized that, I've divorced myself from medicine. I've,
Mm,
I'm sort of human when I'm not doing medicine, but I'm not human when I'm doing medicine. And I kind of realized that probably until I got sick. And then I realized how vulnerable I was and how, I met different clinicians during my sick period, and how the ones who are human, were really, I felt, wow, this is really good. I'm healing here because I'm seeing another human being, and yeah, yeah. So only until I got really sick, and then my dad passed away 15 months ago. And I thought, shit, this is real life, I'm gonna go through this myself. And I need to be doing my thing rather than 101 other things that other people expect from me and what I expect from myself because of, social and economic and cultural shackles. And I thought, shit, maybe I can be myself as an ophthalmologist after all these years.
mm, mm.
And not be part of the clan or part of the group or so. But it's not easy, owning up to this kind of, you've kind of fucked up a lot of things in your life and you're just realizing how you've messed things up. But alhamdulillah, it's yeah, I kind of realized that, yeah, I was being my humanism was being siphoned away
Yes.
from the starts of, I don't know, this whole, medical school and this and that. And it's very powerful because you get hypnotized by this whole system. And and it's difficult to sort of wean yourself off it.
I,
Um,
I I hear that from other people. It's like once you enter the factory line that is clinical training, it's very hard to jump off. It's like, well, I don't know whether it's done intentionally. Look, I love the idea of medicine. I think the NHS is an amazing institution in principle. Just as a disclaimer, before anyone says anything.
well, I mean, compared
But
to other systems, it's amazing,
yeah,
compared to
yeah,
systems around the rest of the world, it is an amazing system, even at this stage.
yes. Hello. Sorry, I lost
Yeah,
you there. Hey, can you
yeah,
hear me? Sorry,
yeah,
my
yeah.
internet's not the best. Yeah. Um,
I mean, we should really do this like a
NHS.
live
And
video chat. I think that'd be really awesome. Maybe next
do you
time.
think? I think that would be cool. Do you, like with people participating, like in the chat as well?
Well, we could do that as well. Yeah, we should do that next
Yeah.
time. Actually, have like a live, dodgy discussion between the power lifter and the bald held, baldy man, baldy old man. Or
No, I I've actually, this is the first time I've done something like this, and I've actually really enjoyed it. But I was going to go on to say, what was it about the NHS? Oh, human. I think the Western world, what it's done is dehumanize the human experiences in almost every way, shape, or form. If you look at the architecture that they try to deploy in the last few decades, it's very clinical. That there's no human element to it, like the brutalism that you see in certain parts of the city of London. And even to the new skyscrapers, you're in awe of them because of how large they are. There's no shape or form to them. And the human experience is it's all about form and shape, and you've taken that away from them. You walk into a hospital, and I don't know why hospitals are being built like this. It's dead. It's a deadly experience. You've removed any form of happiness and relief from even the visuals and the scent and the lighting. You just removed any human good experience and just deployed a straight clinical indifference. And I think that's very dangerous. And so it even goes back to the conversations that you want to have in your workplace, or for example, which are very human conversations about faith, even about politics. We've said, no, don't do that. So what are you left with? As a human, you've been left with nothing in the workplace, when you look up to the sky and you see the skyscrapers, or when you walk into the hospital, it's just a deadly, indifferent experience. They dehumanized everything from A to Z. And we wonder why depression, and we wonder why these mental health problems are rising.
I mean, what would the ideal hospital setting look like for you? Given that wherever you look around, it looks like a hospital sort of asylum, and you're going to be locked up. I mean, it looks like a prison, really. When we go,
Yeah.
but a clean prison and without bars in front of you.
I think that's a fair comparison. It does look like a prison without the imprisoning factors. But for me, a hospital should look like a community center, and like the walls don't need to be the colors that they are, which is this white. It depends on the hospital that you're working in, but completely white. And there needs to be greenery. There needs to be flowers. There needs to be plants. The wards should all surround the center place where there's community engagement. I think there's something more natural about the experience that needs to be put in, whether that's plants, whether that's changing the color scheme, whether that's changing even the corridors. Like everything plays such a massive part, whether we like it or not. Just the fact that the corridors are like that. Imagine you turn them to an oval, so you're entering a place of recovery. But if you associate this, the corridor shape with a normal hospital, you know that you're not going to have a good time when you enter the hospital. So just changing things here and there, turning it into more friendly, warm environment that induces recovery, as opposed to you kind of know things are going to get worse for you by the time you get in, and if things do actually improve or not for you in the hospital setting as an inpatient, that's another question. I think just establish more a natural element to it. Bring back colors, bring back different architecture.
Yeah, I mean, I quite like open spaces, light spaces. I mean, I like domes, having sort of domes or sort of areas of, where one celebrates awe and togetherness and, the power of, as you said, community. I'm sure there's architects out there who can sort of look at these things and, see what healing does and how they can translate that into, into these spaces. I mean, my kind of question is, will, we know that the digital world has solutions when it comes to healthcare, but I don't think it has all the solutions. And I think, we still need to have some kind of physical existence that helps the healing process. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. I think so. Yeah, with what we've done at BiteWorld, obviously we set up something called Bite Labs, which is the industry first digital health fellowship, which is accredited, offers a diploma now. We work with digital health companies, We've trained hundreds of doctors and last year alone, found them health tech jobs. So we've done a lot in that space. I think, yes, digital health should not be in mind to replace the human experience. It should be there to just assist doctors. So whether that's a radiology app that helps doctors make diagnoses quicker, whether that's an AI co-pilot where instead of just spending so much time as a clinician writing up notes and doing all the admin, you have an AI assistant to do that. So digital health in the capacity of being an assistant can be understood. Or if it's digital health in the sense of data compilation, understanding more about the patient journey, that's also incredibly important. I don't know how I feel about, I think the World Health Organization released this AI clinician, quote unquote, where you have this AI generated face and they're talking to patients. I don't like that. I don't think any interaction that's facing the patient, human facing, the interaction one-to-one should be AI at all. That should be completely and exclusively human to human, where digital health plays an incredibly important part is making the life of the clinician easier so they can spend more time with their patients and interact on that human to human level. So I agree with you. I think it can play an important part, but it depends on the intentions. Do not replace the clinician, the human, from the interactions they're having with their patients.
Yeah. Mm, mm, mm. Well, the whole ethics around artificial intelligence, that's really important. I think that's I've got a doctor that I know that specializes in that, and it would be interesting to get his opinions and thoughts on it. So why is everything bite for you? I mean, is it, you like sort of morsels of food, or is this like sort of reverse psychology? You like lots of food, and what's with the bite stuff?
I think I'll be honest with you. It's really, we were sitting in a car. This is actually so funny. We actually set up the company. We were doing OSCE events for medical students called OSCE Bites. And we thought to ourselves, look, we did 2 events, it's done well, our physical textbooks sold out. Why don't we just think a little bit bigger? Why don't we create like a online medical education platform from the resources we've already created? And it was the 3 of us, Azim, myself, and Shwaib. And we were in central London and we tried to go into a shisha cafe lounge. We walked out because the shisha was too expensive for us. So we didn't have the meeting in there. Instead, we had the meeting in my car. And we were just searching for names. And we went through a dozen odd names until we hit one that we thought was good, which was Bite Medicine. And the reason why we liked it, firstly, the .com existed for it. So we're like, brilliant. But more so, what we wanted to do was bite medicine as though you're taking a bit of medicine and making it more digestible. One bite at a time, and then you'll have the whole entire thing eaten. So that's the reason why we kind of went away with Bite Medicine. But obviously we've expanded, and it's great to have that initial branding, because then it becomes BiteWorld, then you go into Bite Labs for digital health, and then Bite Courses for clinical training, and then Bite Pharma for pharma training, and all sorts. So very fortunate that we landed on that name.
But you have proper bites, like you eat a lot, sort of thing. You don't have to
Oh yeah. Oh, mate, I'm going to tell you something. It's such a big problem in the office because everyone likes to have halim and nahari, Pakistani food, Arab food. So we're just consistently always asking the question, what's on the agenda for food today?
Wonderful. And what's like the next big plan for you guys? What's happening?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. There are many different parts of the company. So if I just speak to probably 2 of the most pertinent things. So for what we've done with BioLabs, we're doing the same thing for pharma to get clinicians and non-clinicians into the pharmaceutical sector through BitePharma. Once again, an accredited 8-week program. And we're getting the clinician to basically cover all different parts of pharma. So pharma is separated into different parts. You have your drug development, clinical trials, medical affairs, sales, commercial. We want the clinician to understand each different sector or function. But we also do emotional training for them, emotional intelligence training. We do mindset training, because a clinician working in clinical practice needs to gain or understand the long-term approach needed for them to succeed when they're in pharma. So we're teaching them that as well. But they're also working group projects. So we're entering the pharma space. But for Bite Labs, what we are looking to do is establishing a venture builder. So at the end of the 8 weeks, our fellows work on some incredible ideas that have viability. And they just need assistance to take it to the next level, whether that's capital, whether that's legal advice, whether that's trying to help them find technical expertise. We're essentially going to set up a venture builder where we'll try and deploy some capital into assisting those ideas that come through the fellowship. That's the next plan. I have a long-term vision around innovation hubs but I'll keep that for another day, and we can discuss that later on. That's very in the air right now.
And probably somewhere in the Middle East as well.
Oh, definitely. I just definitely, dude. Like, I just want to go back to Iraq. I know it's weird because that country has it does a weird thing to you. Some people just like don't go back to it all, and then for me, it's like I'm yearning towards it. I think in some kind of capacity.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like me, it's like me shagging the wife. You're lucky if it happens. You're unlucky if it doesn't happen. Love-hate relationship, whatever.
Yeah.
You hate
That's
them.
it.
So yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and you keep going back to it eventually, and you wish you didn't. And no, I mean, it's such an old horse, and you keep wanting to get on the horse again, and they have different ways of kicking you off and beating you down, and you keep going back for more.
Yeah. I to be
Sorry
fair,
to sort of
maybe
stop you there.
no, no, no. I just no. I mean, you have far more experience than I do, because I left the country when I was incredibly young. So I don't know what's happened to that country over the last 20 odd years. I just know, like, as you said, you're considered to be the black sheep. And so I know people telling me not to do it. The only thing that's making me do is wanting to do it more, to go to Iraq, to the Middle East, and establish business over there. And not only business, like I have a personal take on business anyway, which is every business you set up needs to be contributing locally to the community. Whether that's financially, whether that's the co-founders or the team or the employees helping that community in any way, shape, or form, whether that's education, picking up litter, I don't care. That business has a responsibility towards that local community. And I want to do something similar over in the Middle East.
Well, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you, and I look forward to seeing what you do in Iraq, because I think, as you said, the brain power is immense, and the IQ power is immense there in the country, and hopefully we won't, damage ourselves, and we keep moving forward, hopefully.
Inshallah. I know you're going there in the next couple of months at the end of year, so I'll come visit you, and then we can organize
definitely. Definitely. I mean, I'll be going back to sort of, it's a traditional academic institution, but I'm hoping we can disrupt it. We're respecting the local culture and religion and ethics and morals and values, keeping that, but just bring it up to an interesting and curious future. Hopefully we can find a good middle ground for it.
I'm sure you'll do amazing things. I know you're setting up a charity as well. And
Yeah, well, thanks for the plug. Yeah.
Turn this
Weird.
around now.
But yeah, I mean, there's a massive need, and I think if we can disrupt, the ophthalmic scene there, I think it'd be awesome. And the technology is available, and we just need a few crazy people to have that crazy idea and do it anyway. And I think this is where sort of I come in, and hopefully you come in as well, and just cause a lot of disruption and troublemaking. I think.
Inshallah. I also know, I feel like Iraqis want it as well. I think they're ready for the new era for the country, and so they're happy to see disruption and change. So
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of young people there, and they've had enough of the old biddies. So I think it's time to sort of move forward. I'd like to end on this. What would be your 3 top tips to the young Zac who reluctantly did medicine because of his parents? You know, what would you say? What would you say to
Three-
what would be the 3 top tips to him now that you've experienced what have you experienced over the last 10, 15 years?
yeah, I have no regrets. Just I think life is exciting because of its imperfections, the good and the bad choices and the good choices. I think that's really exciting. I think what I would go on to say to the younger Zac is spirit, spirit, spirit. I'll give you no other tip. It's the same thing. Faith, faith, faith. Like how things go with your business, how things go with your relationships, your partner, your friends. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. It's your connectivity with God and your faith. I genuinely believe that, and I've had to learn that over time. Probably if I learned that earlier, my life would have been a little bit different. But once again, I have no regrets. Um, I have I have completely given up everything within my life to God, and that complete surrender has given me complete and utter peace. There is no tomorrow for me. There's only today, and if God wills it, He wills it, and there we go. Life is fantastic otherwise.
Awesome. I mean, it's been absolutely great having you on the show. And how can people get hold of you? What's the best way?
Yeah, so I suppose my LinkedIn, Zac Hana, probably is the best way, and then I'll provide you with my email and mobile. But definitely my LinkedIn is probably the best starting point. Add me, and then yeah, get a hold of me. Thank you so much for having me, Ada.
Nice one, Zac. Thank you.
Thank you.